True North Reviews, True North Reviews, True North Reviews.
Hey there, welcome to True North Reviews. My name is Ryan, and today we are discussing the Justin Bieber record, Justice. This is the sixth studio album from Mr. Bieber, the Biebs, my long-lost arch-nemesis, based on all those schoolgirl crushes that everyone seemed to have for him back in the day. Then again, I must have subconsciously wanted to be just like him because I had the Bieber flow back when I was a hater. Not a good look, both for my hairstyle and for my reputation. Regardless, like him or not, Justin Bieber is a Canadian icon of sorts, unless you still want to see him deported. I personally can't go that far, but I wouldn't say my love for Justin is endless either, especially after his most recent album, Changes, wasn't very good, not very good at all. At the end of the day, with that project, it just felt like Bieber was falling behind on the times and trends, and I can't blame him. The guy spent 5 years in between putting out an album I like overall in Purpose and then Changes. Just waiting, then coming back, and then offering some very subpar material isn't going to bode well for Justin. Like, for example, forcing Yummy onto his fan base to be this number one when it clearly was not made out to be. Intentions, I enjoyed that single a lot more, but as 2020 ran on, the radio airplay seemed to suck the life out of it. Or if it wasn't the radio, it was just the album not aging very well as the deep cuts were being brushed aside and forgotten, deservingly so. However, turning the page and entering this new chapter, I was renewed a sense of optimism for Justice. Granted, I still had mixed feelings on the singles and anything was going to be an improvement over Yummy, but some praise still has to be given. On the one hand, I love the two most recent pre-release singles that seem to be taking more of an 80s pop rock direction in Anyone and Hold On. Fun fact, Anyone was originally written for Camila Cabello, who sold it to JB, so she did miss out on that one. But back to Justin, to the earlier singles that dropped in September and October 2020, I didn't find myself too fond of them when they first came out. Lonely is an okay ballad that I couldn't originally empathize with its message. I've warmed up to it, but that doesn't mean much when we're talking about the song's chorus, where JB's singing or yodeling or whatever you want to call it is insufferable, and that's still true to this day. And then Chance the Rapper on Holy, I'm still torn on this one. He definitely phones it in and makes it a cheesy song for JB, but I have to say the gospel tinge and tune are at the very least still very infectious and engaging. So all in all, two good singles, one okay, one ew, really just a mixed bag so far, but this theme of religion on Holy and the framing to this album as a whole still had me interested, since Justin has shown that he's had success in incorporating religion before, specifically on Purpose, which again I like, but I think this new record, Justice, is here to top that. And where to begin, it only makes sense from the top and to start with Too Much. I feel like Justin keeps his winning streak alive with this one. He sets the stage with another simplistic yet engaging intro. Sure, it is cringy with its reach for the bucket type lyrics, but a cute song with a catchy hook nonetheless. Building on the intro cut though, Deserve You is a standout that is more complete from the songwriting aspect, as it also fills the arrangement with big booming drums as Justin reaches for an even more powerful and catchier chorus. As I Am, featuring Khalid, this might be the most generic and straightforward pop track on the project, nothing too groundbreaking from the production. You can tell it would fit into the 2010s decade very easily, but even if Justin isn't out here reinventing the wheel, he still sticks the landing pretty well in my opinion with a very fun and singable song. Now, as I mentioned earlier, any single was bound to be better than Yummy. In fact, this entire album is an improvement over Changes. Yeah, it's a moral victory, but it still has to be said, and one of the reasons why I think it's true is the ballads are kept to a minimum. For example, the cut Off My Face, it's still insecure like ETA was for Changes, but Justin thankfully has taken some strides lyrically to show that he's not as toxic with his love for Haley anymore. Also, it's interesting to hear Bieber substitute some of his phrasing and deliveries and have them more in the vein of Post Malone with just more of a vulnerable side. Speaking towards that Post Malone influence, the track Unstable might be a more direct comparison as it goes in deeper with its dark aesthetic. But as much as I find myself complimenting Justin on writing better songs that are a lot catchier and in line with today's contemporaries, it is unfortunate to see him drop the proverbial ball on social issues. And look, it's not surprising JB would mention justice in the eyes of the law or equality, but if he's just going to shoehorn in a Martin Luther King speech that clearly has its own racial context and then repurpose it for the sake of wanting to die for his wife, yeah, that comes off as out of touch and tone deaf. And yes, everyone's struggle is different and their own, and I hope Justin understands the significance behind MLK. It's just hard to defend him when the comparison bears no relevance in my mind. From there, I do actually appreciate the song that follows, In Die For You, featuring Dominic Fike. Again, if we could just go without the prefacing of it with MLK, I think the song stands on its own for its own right. It's 80s danceable bliss, and the production is masterful, along with the track Ghost, which strums in some guitar and haunting lyrics about settling for the ghost of you. It's all very compelling. Next, we have the track Hold On, which for Toronto Maple Leaf fans, yeah, keep holding on and maybe lean on this song when your team inevitably loses in the playoffs like they normally do. At least it's a good song. Look at me trolling the Leaf fans. Oh. And now the last track I don't want to leave out because it deserves a massive shout out is Peaches. This is the latest single from the album's released, and it's a fantastic one. I'd be shocked if Peaches doesn't perform well on the charts. Daniel Caesar and Giveon croon and add very soulful verses to this track as JB gets a little edgier than what we're used to hearing from him. You know, getting his peaches from Georgia, getting his weed from California. I think Peaches is a mainstay for this album, and in combination with anyone, I'm set at a base level of happiness and being impressed with Justice. Again, Justin can't go without at least a few duds in the track list. Somebody is pretty limp and dull with its vocal performance. Beam and Burna Boy's features are pretty laughable, and it doesn't help when Justin's hooks are either too clunky or just worn down by the world music genre. But still, I think most of the features here, as varied as they get to be, they arrive and they have more memorable performances compared to Changes and those features. Not to forget about Justin, he also brings some of his best songs and songwriting to date on Justice. The tracks actually suit him well, even though some of them are traveling into new styles and territory for him to play with. Take some of the more obvious rock instrumentation. There's some guitars laced over these tracks. But that still doesn't take away from the modern and fresh sound of this project as that pop production comes through on top of those really catchy hooks. On the downside, the end of this album tends to give me whiplash jumping around with all those genres, but there's some okay songs in there. Regardless, I'm just happy that Bieber bounced back on Justice, and this is a much stronger showing for him. With all that being said, I'm feeling a strong 6 out of 10 on this album. There's the review for today. Make sure you guys sound off down below in the comments. Tell me what you guys think of this music, whether you agree or disagree. I'm here to engage with you guys. If you'd like to leave a like, subscribe if you're new in town, I'd appreciate that as always. Thanks for watching. Have a rockin' day.